Listen to the JT Sports Podcast on all podcasting platforms and leave a 5-star review.
Alabama versus Arkansas is the next game that we have to talk about. This game is going to be kicking off this Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Last week, Arkansas was defeated by Texas A&M 23-21. And despite losing that game, I still feel like the Razorbacks have a really good chance at being able to give Alabama not only a close game, but also being able to potentially maybe pull off the upset. And the reason why I feel this way is because when I look back at that A&M game, I feel like Arkansas lost that game because they made too many mistakes that A&M was able to cash in on. You had the fumble on 1st and goal by KJ Jefferson, which got recovered and returned for a touchdown by Texas A&M. Then you had a bad snap late in the fourth quarter with 3:02 left, which costed Arkansas a couple of yards. And later this same drive, they went on to miss a field goal, which would have given them the lead. And when you're playing a team like Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State, you have to be able to execute in big moments. You go back and you look at Alabama's 20-19 win against Texas. You want to know why Texas lost that game? It wasn't because Alabama was the better team, talent-wise, but it was because Texas, in big moments, came up short. If you're trying to beat Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State, if you're in a 4th and goal situation, you got to be able to come up with a touchdown. If you're in a 3rd and long situation late in the fourth quarter and you need to convert to keep the drive alive, you have to be able to convert. You have to make the most of these opportunities when you play these kind of schools like Alabama, because they have a ability that I call the trapdoor ability. And the trapdoor ability allows them to find ways to win games despite being outplayed. You go back and you look at that Texas win for Alabama. They got outplayed by the Longhorns. But you want to know why they won that game? Because Texas allowed Alabama to remain in the game. You see, when you have a team like Alabama on the ropes, you got to knock them out. You got to put them in the coffin. And you have to dig them in the hole, seal it, and put dirt over it and bury them. You see, when you don't bury teams like Alabama, or you don't finish them and you allow them to hang in the game, they're going to win. Because when you give them too many chances to win the game, eventually the talent is going to prevail and they're going to find a way to win. That happened with Texas against Alabama. You see, they gave Alabama a chance at the end to go down to win the game, and Bryce Young made them pay. So if you're Arkansas, you got to be able to execute in big moments. You can't have the mistakes that you had against Texas A&M last week. And you also got to have a big performance out of quarterback KJ Jefferson. Now, KJ Jefferson has played really well so far this season. In my opinion, he should be a contender and in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy. And if you remember their game last year against Alabama, which they lost 42-35, the main reason why that game was so close was because of how well KJ Jefferson performed. So if Arkansas wins this game, it's going to be because KJ Jefferson went for over 300 yards all purpose, had like 4 total touchdowns, and no turnovers. And for Arkansas's defense, you got to find a way to get some stops. You got to find a way to stop the bleeding in the secondary. Their best defensive back, Catalan, is out. And their secondary is going to be in for a long afternoon against Bryce Young in this Alabama passing attack. And for Arkansas, your pass rush has to be phenomenal. And their pass rush has been really good so far. They currently are number 1 in all of America in sacks. You got Drew Sanders, Landon Jackson. I mean, you have a lot of guys who can really get after the quarterback. And when you look at all of the games that Alabama has struggled in with Bryce Young at the helm at quarterback, they have all been in games where their opposing team was able to get pressure on Bryce Young and Alabama's offensive line struggled. Alabama's offensive line did not look good against Texas. And their defensive line didn't really look all that well neither. So for Arkansas, you do have a pretty good offensive line. Your defensive line also is pretty good. So that should allow you to somewhat be able to slow down that passing attack. Now, Alabama still is going to get theirs. They're still going to have big chunk plays. But if their offensive line is inconsistent and your pass rush continues to play the way in this game that they have all season so far, you're going to be able to put Alabama in a situation where they're going to have some inconsistencies on offense, and that's going to allow you to keep this game close. Now, for Alabama, you got to be able to slow down Arkansas's rushing attack. So how many rushing yards do you guys think Alabama can hold Arkansas to? Because you know that KJ Jefferson is going to be a factor in the ground game, so you're going to have to limit him. Then also you got to slow down Rocket Sanders. So for Alabama, slowing down the run game is going to be very key to trying to slow down Arkansas's passing attack. Because then Arkansas is going to have to heavily rely on the passing game. Because when you look at how many times Arkansas throws the ball per game, not really all that much. They throw the ball no more than 24 or 25 times a game. So if you're Bama, you got to take away that ground game and force them to beat you through the air. Now, they definitely can do that because KJ Jefferson definitely is a pretty good quarterback and he is a really good passer as well. He's pretty accurate and makes pretty good decisions. So if it does come down to a game where Arkansas has to beat you through the air and they beat you that way, you're not upset about that because eventually your pass rush with Will Anderson and Dallas Turner and company, they're going to get home eventually. And when they do hit home, they're going to make a play that eventually could tilt the game in your favor. So another thing that Alabama has done in the past that kind of worries me a little bit is the fact that they have not played well on the road as of late. You remember not too long ago, they barely beat Texas on the road. Last year, they barely beat Auburn. It took them 4 overtime periods to get the win, 24-22 there. And then, they were upset. Well, they had a close win against Florida early last season. So for Alabama, they have not really fared all that well against teams on the road. So for Arkansas, the fact that you're going to be playing this game at home is going to be sold out. You're going to have all your fans there. That definitely is going to be one factor for why you could pull off this upset. KJ Jefferson at the helm at quarterback definitely is another reason. And if you can get some key stops late in this game and you can go up by 10 points late in the fourth quarter and ice Alabama, that's how you're going to win this game. Because for Arkansas, if you lose the turnover battle and you have more penalties, you're not going to win this game. Because beating a team like Alabama requires you to execute and it requires you to be disciplined. You can't beat a great team being undisciplined. And the same thing for Alabama. You can't have another instance where you're having multiple penalties and you're being inconsistent on offense like you did against Texas, because a team like Arkansas is going to make you pay. So the team that I'm going to take to win this game is Alabama, because I think with Alabama, they have so much talent when it comes to the passing game that I don't think that Arkansas's defense is going to be able to get too many stops. They may be able to get a couple of stops here and there, but ultimately I think that Alabama's offense is going to be really good in this game. Because, yes, Arkansas does have a really good pass rush, but I don't think that the pass rush is going to be hitting home every play. So when the pass rush isn't hitting home every play, that's when I think that Alabama's passing game is going to start getting those big chunks. And then on top of that, I think for Arkansas in the red zone, they come up short too many times. I think they definitely have to be better in that area. And Alabama's run defense has been really good. So for Arkansas, them having a day on the ground where they go for over 170, 150 plus, that could be highly unlikely. Now, maybe they touch 100, But really for Arkansas, you want to get to 150. And you got to be able to have that run game at your disposal, because that's how you're going to keep Arkansas's defense, keep your defense off the field and keep their offense off the field. And for Arkansas, your defense is going to have to get a couple of stops. And if you want to help your defense out, help them by keeping them off the field and giving them extra rest and keeping that Alabama offense off the field and Bryce Young and company. So I'm going to take Alabama to win this game. 34-27 is going to be my final score prediction in this game. I think this game is going to be fairly close, but I think that, Alabama is going to have some moments in this game where Bryce Young keeps them alive and puts them in position to hold on and win and get the victory. So I'm taking Alabama to get the win. Let me know who you guys have winning this game down in the comment section down below.